Today, California tri-tip meets Baltimore pit beef sandwich. I want to thank our amazing meat sponsor today, Porter Road, but we'll get more into them later in the video. This recipe starts 2 days before the cook, where we want to prep our Porter Road tri-tip. For this particular recipe, I want to remove most of the fat cap, as it's only going to really cause flare-ups when we go to grill it later on. And we want more meat exposed so we can get seasoning on the surface. So we just want to cut away as much fat as we can, saving the fat to render out and cook with later. Now I just want to coat the tri-tip generously with kosher salt all over. This is called dry brining. It's going to pull moisture to the outside of the meat. That salt's going to absorb it, and the meat's going to suck it back in, seasoning the meat throughout. Once coated in salt, goes into a refrigerator, uncovered overnight. The next day we make our wet rub. And I'm going in with about 2 tablespoons of freshly cracked black pepper, which is going to take a minute when you're cracking it fresh. Then in with about a tablespoon of dried thyme, a tablespoon of dried oregano, a tablespoon of dried rosemary. The rosemary's got these long pines, so I just like to take my fingers and scrunch them up to try and break them up a bit. Then a tablespoon of paprika, a teaspoon of granulated garlic, a teaspoon of granulated onion, and a teaspoon of Calabrian chili powder or some cayenne powder if you have. Then a few tablespoons of olive oil, mix it, and we have this nice wet rub. No salt. I like to add my salt separately so I know it's properly seasoned. Rub the tri-tip all over with the wet rub, coating it completely, and then wrap it in plastic back into the fridge overnight. If you're short on time, you could salt and add the dry rub the same day before the cook. Now the last thing to prep is the horseradish cream. In a bowl, I'm going to add a cup of sour cream. You could also use mayo instead. I'm actually just going to use both. Quarter cup of mayo goes in. Then we're adding the prepared horseradish. We'll go with a few tablespoons to a quarter cup or more if you like it really hot. And then about a tablespoon of white vinegar. Salt and pepper to taste. Then give it a taste. I definitely needed more horseradish. I also think it would be nice to add a bit of Dijon mustard, and yep, I proclaim that to be an essential ingredient. It gives a nice extra layer of bite and heat. Once ready, we're gonna pour that into a container, and that's ready for grilling tomorrow. Now the next day is the grill day, and unlike cooking in the kitchen with charcoal, we're gonna need to talk about how to set up the grill. I'm using my SnS Kamado, which is equipped with the slow and sear system inside, which is my preferred setup. And we're gonna use the reverse sear method. Going in with applewood. Applewood is my favorite wood to smoke with. And we're gonna place the wood first into the slow and sear basket and then pile charcoal on top of it. This is gonna help promote a cleaner smoke. And this is a faster cook, so you don't need to like go crazy and pile it to the brim. Just loosely fill that basket. That should be enough for this cook. And I like using this high quality lump charcoal. Now I don't have a fire starter at the moment, but you can make one by folding up some paper towel into a rectangle, adding a bit of oil to the center, and then rolling it up, placing it into the corner of the slow and sear basket, give it a light, and let that get the coals going. I have this handy Geek air fan that I use to kind of help speed this process up. Once you see the charcoal getting hot and there's enough momentum heat building in the charcoals, we can get the grate on. We can get a probe in the grates to temp the indirect side of the grill. Close the lid. Open up the vents all the way and let the grill heat up and come up to temperature. Our target temperature is 225 degrees to 250. Something that's not talked about a lot in barbecuing with charcoal is clean smoke versus dirty smoke. You see this thick white smoke? This is no good. It's acrid. It smells bitter. You can smell and see this is not good smoke to cook with. This happens as the coals heat up, but once they reach a hot enough temperature, it'll start to burn cleaner. You'll start to smell a lot of that apple wood come out. See this smoke? It's clear, got a slightly bluish hinge to it. That's clean smoke. That's the smoke that you want. When the grill's about 50 degrees away from your target temp, you want to dial back the vents and close them about 80% of the way, and then it's going to slowly settle at your target temp range. Once the grill is at its temp, get the tri-tip on the indirect side of the grill, stick a probe into the thickest part of it to monitor the internal temp, close the lid, and let the thing cook. Now while that cooks, we need to talk about our sponsor today, Porter Road. Porter Road is a company that I really love. They actually reached out to me a while ago. I kind of didn't want to do anything with them. I asked them, could you cut your steaks a little thicker? And they came back to me a month or two later and they're like, hey, we started offering thick cut steaks. And I was like, I like that. When I tried the beef, it was fantastic. Porter Road's an online butcher shop, but they're not. They're like a local butcher shop. I even have lots of my fans, when I post about them, say, hey, they're down the street from me in Nashville. Great people. So there's like a small company vibe, but now they're on the internet, so they're big. And they can deliver the best quality meat directly to your door. Part of their mission is trying to fix a broken food system. So they work with trusted local farmers who raise animals the right way, humanely, on pastures with no added hormones. All their beef is dry aged for 14 days, and they hand cut each steak and chop using old world butchering techniques so that you find cuts that you're not gonna find in other grocery stores. You can go a la carte, or you can have a subscription model. They've been really responsive whenever I reach out to them. And they are a vertically integrated company so that they control the entire process. They can offer lower prices. If you click that link down in the description, Porter Road's gonna give my viewers $20 off their first order of $100 or more. If you go down in the link, porterroad.com/NACS. That $20 off is going to be automatically applied whenever your cart reaches $100. And all orders over $100 ship for free. So head on down to that link, place your first order, and thank you Porter Road for sponsoring this video. Back to the grill, and about halfway through the cooking process, I want to give the beef a flip and then continue cooking the meat until it reaches an internal temperature of about 110 to 115 degrees for a tri-tip on the rare side. If you want it a little bit more medium, pull it at 120 to 125. Since we're essentially making roast beef sandwiches, I like it on the rarer side. Get it off the grill, and now we're gonna open up the vents. We're gonna mix up the coals, and we're gonna try and get the coals red hot and ready to sear this meat. This fan is really gonna help out now, speeding this process up. Once all the charcoals are red hot, we're going to be using what's called the cold grate technique. And it starts by placing the tri-tip back on the indirect side of the grill, the cold side of the grate. And this grate can spin, so you spin the cold side of the grate over the direct heat. And then you're going to let the heat from the flame, not the heat from the grill grates, sear this side of meat for about 1 minute. After a minute, you're going to place the tri-tip on the other cool side of the grate now, give it a flip, and then spin that cool side of the grate back over the indirect side. Cook it for another minute, and then you're going to repeat that 3 to 5 times until you reach your desired internal temperature. Mine was about 123 to 125 for a nice rare tri-tip. You want to go between 125 and 130 for a nice medium rare before letting it rest. You can see the grains running lengthwise. So we want to make sure we cut it against the grain. That's going to ensure nice tender slices. Now you want to get your sharpest, thinnest knife and just start cutting slices as thin as possible. In a sandwich like we're making today, the thinner the slices, the better. Think like a deli sandwich, and that's the thinness you want to get, or as close to it as you can. And since this tri-tip has like a little length to it, I'm just gonna give it a couple quick chops just to make the pieces a bit smaller to bite through. We're gonna take a bun, we're gonna toast it right over the coals for 30 seconds. In with the horseradish cream on the bottom bun. Some of that tri-tip piled high. A touch of salt, a few thin slices of raw onion, and a final dollop of that horseradish cream. Forget about it. This can be done with like roast beef, bottom round or top round, but if you want to get your hands on some of this Porter Road meat, there's going to be a link down in the description. But thank you so much to Porter Road for sponsoring this video. That's all that I have today. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself and go feed yourself.